It was a calm evening in southern Australia, October 21st, 1978. The sun was dipping low over the Bass Strait, casting long shadows over the water. A 20-year-old pilot named Frederick Valentich climbed into a rented Cessna 182L at Moorabbin Airport. He was young, ambitious, and maybe a little overconfident, but he loved flying. That evening, he told air traffic control he'd be heading to King Island, a short trip across the strait, but he never made it. Frederick wasn't just a hobby pilot. He was serious about aviation, even if others thought he was a little too fixated on it. He'd failed parts of his commercial license test, but he was determined to keep improving. He read books, trained when he could, and he talked often, maybe too often, about UFOs. He was fascinated by them. Some even say obsessed. He wasn't the only one. In the late 1970s, Australia had its fair share of strange sky sightings. Reports of glowing lights, silent crafts, and unexplainable shapes moving against the night sky had become more common. The government never acknowledged much, but newspapers occasionally ran stories buried beneath the headlines. Valentich read them all. They fueled something in him, a belief that maybe we weren't alone. As he took off around 6:19 p.m., there was nothing unusual. He checked in with Melbourne ATC, kept his heading steady, and flew into the golden horizon. But 45 minutes into the flight, something changed. Valentich radioed air traffic control to report an unidentified aircraft near him. He said it was large, shiny, and moving fast. It was hovering, he used that word specifically, and seemed to be playing games in the sky, flying above him, circling him. The controller, confused but calm, asked him to identify the craft. Valentich couldn't. He said the object had 4 bright lights and a metallic surface that reflected the setting sun. Then he said something strange. The object wasn't an aircraft. At least, not like any he'd seen. He described its movement as too smooth, too perfect. Not mechanical, almost alive. He noted that the craft made no sound, which bothered him. At that altitude and proximity, he should have heard something. A whir of a rotor, the hum of an engine. But there was only silence. Over the next few minutes, the conversation got increasingly tense. Valentich reported engine problems. He said the object was still there, still following. His voice began to waver. There was something in his tone, a mix of confusion, fear, and awe. Then the transmission broke up. There was static, silence, and finally, 17 seconds of a metallic scraping sound captured on tape before the line went dead. Frederick Valentich was never heard from again. The search started immediately. Planes combed the coastline and the water. Boats searched the strait. Divers went down hoping to find wreckage. But nothing was ever found. No oil slick, no body, not even a single piece of his plane. For his family, it was devastating. Frederick's father, Guido, gave multiple interviews in the years after. He always insisted that his son had been taken by an unidentified flying object. Not because he needed to believe it, but because to him, it was the only thing that made sense. He listened to the recording over and over, hoping for some overlooked clue. Friends described Frederick as driven but isolated. He didn't party much, didn't go out like most guys his age. He was passionate, sometimes to a fault, and that passion often isolated him. But those close to him knew he was a good soul. He wanted to make something of himself. He wanted to prove he was capable. Theories came fast. Some thought he crashed into the water and sank without a trace. Others believed he faked his disappearance, hoping to start a new life somewhere else. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe he felt trapped. But none of that explains the radio transmission. None of that explains the sound. Investigators also questioned whether he had been disoriented, perhaps flying upside down and seeing his own lights reflected on the water. But the weather was clear. Conditions were calm. Experienced pilots reviewing the transcript argued that Frederick's voice didn't suggest confusion. It suggested real-time reporting. Then there were the UFO believers. They pointed to Valentich's long-standing obsession with aliens and the precise language he used during his final transmission. Hovering, shiny, metallic, the strange lights, the missing wreckage, the audio. All of it, to them, suggested one thing: contact. Not imagined. Not accidental. Real. There's something eerie about how detailed his report was. If he was lying, it was an Oscar-worthy performance. If he was hallucinating, it was eerily consistent. And if he was telling the truth, then maybe we witnessed something we weren't ready to explain. In the years since, dozens of people have come forward claiming they saw strange lights over the Bass Strait that night. Some even reported seeing a green light hovering above a small plane before it vanished. One fisherman swore he saw a flash in the sky followed by a sudden silence, as if the air itself had been swallowed. Another woman, hiking along the cliffs, said she watched the stars blink out, one by one, before her dog began barking uncontrollably. Some sightings came days or even weeks later, lights appearing in strange patterns. interference on radio and television signals in the region, a report from a farmer in Tasmania who found circular burn marks in his field. Nothing conclusive, but enough to keep the whispers alive. In the decades since, the Valentich disappearance has become a staple in UFO lore. It's cited in books and conferences as one of the most credible close encounters on record. The audio tape has been dissected countless times, with experts from various fields weighing in. Aviation analysts, psychologists, even sound engineers. Some claim the scraping sound at the end contains hidden frequencies. Others say it's just a failing engine. No one knows for sure. Skeptics argue it was all a tragic mistake, that Valentich got lost or disoriented and crashed. But even they can't explain the timing, the chilling detail of the transmission, and why, in all this time, no trace has surfaced. Without hard evidence, the story remained just that, a story. No photos, no debris, no confession. Just scattered sightings and a chilling audio log. Enough to keep the story alive, but not enough to bring it closure. Still, it sticks with people. The way Frederick's voice sounded, the way the tape ends, the complete lack of resolution. And maybe that's what makes this story linger. Not just the possibility of aliens, but the feeling that someone was taken. That something strange happened up there in the sky, and we're just not meant to understand it. The night air was clear. The sea was calm. And yet, he vanished. Decades later, the Valentich case remains one of the most chilling aviation mysteries in modern history. It's been featured in documentaries, podcasts, and conspiracy forums. Pilots still bring it up when talking about strange things in the sky. It's the kind of case that refuses to be forgotten. Frederick Valentich took off into the fading light one calm October evening, chasing a dream. He vanished into legend. And all we're left with is a recording, and a silence that still hasn't been explained.